There we go. Alright, sorry about that, guys. We're back. Had a phone call that interrupted the broadcast. Let you all hop on again. This is Alexander, of course. Now I realize it's about 2 p.m. on the West Coast, so probably a lot of people in high school are just getting out of school. So it's probably going to miss most of the high school age people. But that's all right. That's all right. I know some of you guys are in that sort of in-between zone. What about if the military is paying for it? I'll get to that. I'll get to that. So, question I got a lot from the young teenage-aged people the past kind of 2 weeks or so since opening up the DMs to the younger people. My parents want me to go to college. I don't know if I want to go to college. Should I listen to them? Or how should I go about handling that situation? So, your parents, as a young person, you always have to keep in mind that overall your parents are going to want what they think is best for you. And relative to most people's parents today, parents typically have I would argue, a skewed, incomplete view of the merits of college education. I still talk to kids who are the age I was then. I've talked to lots of 17, 18, 19-year-olds, kids in high school, and their parents are still locked into that mindset that my parents were, where you have to go to college. College automatically makes more money. College is a good investment. Always go to college. If you don't go to college, you have no future. And do you make more money if you go to college? Yeah, statistics would bear that out, but is that the whole picture? No. And I think it's quite obvious from the millennial generation that the generalistic recommendation of college or else, that has not truly worked out for a lot of people. Student debt levels are at the trillions of dollars. There's lots and lots and lots and lots of kids with degrees where their degree has no use. There's lots of kids who went to school and they never got a degree and the experience wasn't necessarily that useful. So there's a lot of factors to this. There's a lot of factors to this. As a young person, though, if your parents are telling you this and you are feeling reluctant to go to college, I'm not going to tell you that you shouldn't go. I'm going to tell you that you need to explore an alternative and be able to present to your parents an alternative that, okay, Mom, Dad, I'm not going to go to school how you want me to, but I am planning to do this. And what does this mean? What's the alternative? I am planning to start working, entry-level job. I'm going to try to move out of the house in X number of months and save up my money. I'm planning to study these skills. Well, what skills? There's lots of skills now. I've been incredibly impressed. I've been kind of a little bit I've been a little bit immersed in the tech industry recently. I've been amazed by the number of young people I've met who know how to program. I'm not telling you that everybody needs to go learn how to code. I was critiquing that the other day. But there are a multitude of skills today in the world relative to what you can do online, whether it's exploring your talents, whether it's proofreading, whether it's copywriting, whether it is something like drop shipping, whether it is learning how to build niche websites, whether it is learning how to code or do web design or graphic design. There are certainly things that I had no recognition of when I was that age that young people today, they have skill sets that didn't exist. So maybe you're going to do that. Maybe you want to get a real estate license. Maybe you just want to work and you want to get your time in waiting tables and you want to build up your communication skills. Maybe you get an entry-level job, like I said. But regardless of what it is, you have to have some alternative route. If you tell your parents, I don't want to go to college, it can't be, I don't know what else to do, I just know I don't want to go. That's not going to suffice. You need a plan to do something. You know, even if it's working at McDonald's and, like I said, saving your money. There's nothing wrong with entry-level jobs. There's not. They don't go to college and maybe no longer cover parents' health insurance. I've not heard of that, unless their parents kick them off, I guess. So, if you don't go to college, what do? Like I said, you have to explore their options, and then when you're arguing with your parents, that's what you show them. And maybe they don't agree with it. Maybe they don't agree with it at all. But you know what? At least they know that you are thinking about your future. The problem that I had when I was that age is that I myself, back in 2006, 2007, I didn't want to go to college either. I questioned it even then. But I didn't have an alternative model to present to my parents. I didn't know what else to tell them. There were things about college, there were things about my education that I really questioned, But just because you can identify something as being questionable doesn't mean you know a better version of the truth. It's good to ask questions. It's good to be curious. But if I tell you this is not the path that you should take, oh wow, thank you for telling me that. But then I don't offer you an alternative path, I haven't really helped you out so much. I've just confused you. All I've done is confused you. Now, luckily, because we have the internet, we have people online today, we have guys on Twitter, they're young, in their early 20s, telling the game in various ways, they can give you a model to follow. So you can take that model and you can study it, you can case study it, you can learn what they're doing, you can build up, you can start stacking your talents, stacking your skill sets, and then you can start making a way for yourself. And you have to have that long game mindset. One of the critical issues of being a young person is that teenagers are, generally speaking, is terrible at long-term planning. They don't know how to think about the future. So do this for 4 years, or do this for 5 years, or do this for 6 years. Go to school, it's all laid out for you. All your planning, all your systems, everything's taken care of. It's easy. It's easy to follow because you don't have to think about it. You just do it. And you can think you're working hard, you think you're a productive person, you think you're on this very reliable pathway, but like a lot of kids, and I've seen this happen over and over and over again, they get out of school and they have no idea what to do because their actual their actual adulthood has been delayed 4 or 5 or 6 or 7 years. And now they're 22, 23, 24, 25. And they're just having to take care of themselves for the first time. Now they're finally actually getting a job where they're going to have to pay their own way. Now they're finally living on their own. Now they're finally responsible for their bills, maybe. And they have no idea how to handle it. I would argue, and I'd be open to be arguing against myself, but I would argue, if you're a young person out of high school, start something that's an entry-level job, start working immediately, do that for 1 to 2 years, and then in the process of learning how to take care of yourself, then you'll learn what your interests are, you'll learn what maybe your passions are, you'll learn maybe what your purpose is, or at least you'll have some ability to explore these things, and then you'll have a bit more direction as to how you want to go about engineering that and creating that. I can't overstate the importance of working enough. Show yourself and your environment some results. Yeah, that's a way of saying it. So, all that said, what does that mean relative to talking with your parents, having that conversation? You have to have that conversation with some maturity. And you're going to have to think about that, and you're going to have to devise a plan, so to speak, and you're going to have to execute that plan. I had a podcast about that a few months ago, talking about an escape plan. If you're somebody that's living in just a lousy area, you have a bad home life, economically depressed, whatever the case may be, what do? You got to save up, baby boy or baby girl. You got to save up. You have to get a job, save money, and if that takes you 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, you have to do that. You have to create a budget, and you have to make a way for you to get yourself out of that situation. You can't just sit in it and hope for something to happen. Again, long-term planning. Or I'd call that midterm planning, but let's just call it long-term planning. If you're somewhere where you don't want to be, how are you going to get yourself out of the situation? You got to make a way to do that. You got to make a way. Any questions on this, people? I regret not properly playing for adulthood. A lot of people regret not properly playing for adulthood. As you say, some skills really didn't exist. What's to say what works now won't be obsolete? Yeah, you can say that. I'm not really sure what your point is. Any skill, you could argue, will be obsolete eventually. That doesn't mean you don't learn the skill. And there's certain skills which are rather timeless. Being able to talk to people is a timeless skill. If you only work at McDonald's, what's wrong with working at McDonald's? If that's your first job and you've never earned a paycheck in your life, go work at McDonald's. Going to school taught me what I don't want to do. Well, that's the problem. That's the issue I have with school. For a lot of people, it's like a negative education, and it's expensive. It's fucking expensive. It's a college education. If you have some clarity to what you believe you can do with your life that will give you an income and provide for you, then do that. But going to college to explore, that is a very, very expensive way to explore your interests. And quite often, it's just not worth the cost. Gap years, figure things out. I wouldn't call them gap years so much. I'd call them exploratory years. Less expensive? Yeah, definitely less expensive, definitely. College is backwards to me. Professors are dicks most of the time. Seem to worship them. Yeah, college education as a whole, I'm bearish on it. I'm very bearish on it. I've seen the quality of education decline precipitously in my lifetime. It's been a big drop. Kids go to school, they get indoctrinated. They don't really learn anything useful. What's useful? Can you provide for yourself? Are you mentally, physically healthy? Do you know how to make good relationships? Are you independent? Those four things, that's the crux of being a functional human being. Do you understand that your actions have consequences, and are you acting in a way where you are supporting your existence? If you can't do that, and you've been in school for 5-6 years, what did you go to school for? The other factor with knowing what you want to do, and I was writing an email about this, which I'll send out, I think, tonight. But the question of what's your passion, what do you think of fraternities? I give a fuck about fraternities. If someone wants to join them, join them. I hate groups. I'm a lone wolf in everything that I do. I do not ever put myself in a group, ever. Relative to passion and purpose, like, I don't know what I want to do. It's the wrong question. It's the wrong question. It's not about what the fuck you want to do. It's about being able to just pay your own way in the first place. Not everyone's going to have most people are never going to have a passion or a purpose that way, but you can make yourself useful. So what's something that you can do that you can at least take seriously and you want to get better at? Do that. Ballet group? No, that's false comparison. That's false comparison. People don't do ballet because they want to be part of a group. Not that kind of artistic pursuit. Any feedback, people? Any questions? Hopefully I managed to catch some of the younger people on this broadcast. Don't think anything. I'm not getting politics on this. Following your passion is unrealistic. It's unrealistic because most young people just don't know what... Most young people do not have a developed sense of self to be able to point themselves into something they are passionate for. That's why I just find it unreasonable. Yeah, asking a 16-year-old what their passion is, they're 16. Yeah, at 16, most 16-year-olds have... maybe they kissed a girl or they kissed a boy. They've played some sports, maybe. They're a sophomore in high school. You expect that person to have this very clearly defined picture of this is my purpose for the rest of my life. It's an irrational, incoherent idea. Shout turbulence. Yeah. Yeah, this is like from 2 years ago. Any questions, people? I went to college for music. If I could go back, I would have chosen computer science. I was naive about the nature of money providing for myself. Yeah, that's the biggest issue for me. An ambitious person can decide that whether they're 16. No, they can't. That's a platitude. That's a platitude. It's a nice thing to say. If you could be you could be 10 and you can know what your passion is. That's not most people. That's not most people. That's not a recommendation for society. You can't take that. You cannot take that as a broad spectrum recommendation of telling people whose brains are not even fully formed they need to figure themselves out for the rest of their life. The issue that I've seen, well, it's good. It's you. It's you. N equals 1. It's you. It's not the world at large. You don't use yourself as an example of how people should operate. What was the point I was making? Yeah, oh, the point, yeah, for people that have gone to school and they realize after school, shit, what I learned didn't equip me to make a living wage. So it didn't. That seems to be that. Like I said, that's one of the big issues with just education as a whole. There's no emphasis given to kids that you need to be able to support yourself financially. And it sounds so simple, but I went through public education like everybody else. I talked to lots and lots of kids. That's never been taught to them. Like, one day you're gonna have to pay for shit, and it costs money, and you better be making enough money to do that. You hear those words, maybe one of your teachers pays lip service to it. But overall, it just is not something that's taught. Guidance counselors encourage self-infidelity. Guidance counselors seem to be pretty useless. Seem to be pretty fucking useless overall. Any actual questions, guys, before I hop off? When are you gonna be single? Okay, any real questions? Jesus. Fuck school. No, that was not the point of the broadcast. That's not what I said. Can you do a podcast on this topic with Damien Prosolendis? I might. I'll think about that one. Is having good social skills more valuable in today's world more so than maybe it was? No, yeah, I don't know if that's reasonable that way. I understand what you're asking. Like, I would say social skills are of equal value in any age, honestly. I don't see how you could say they're more valuable today. Maybe they are more valuable in the sense that a premium is placed upon them because so few people have them. But 30 years ago, you need to have them anyways. So, yeah, I mean, I understand like what you're trying to ask, but it doesn't matter what period in history you live in. You have to be able to communicate and express yourself clearly. You have to. If you can't speak, if you don't know how to talk good, if you lack writing ability is a critical skill. But speaking of basic human interaction, that's I mean, like, Jesus. I'm not sure how you navigate the world being bad at that. You're always going to be struggling with everything. I talked to my parents about this, and have you paid off your student loans? My loans are about paid off. I have like 4 months of payments left. So my goal is to be debt free at 30, and maybe I'm making that happen. College is a waste. Okay, that's not. Again, you guys didn't watch it from the beginning. That was not the point of the broadcast. Education is not a waste of time if it's an education. Ever fight with family about money? Does anybody in your life judge you about what you do with your money? No. I like I said earlier, I've always been a lone wolf. So people get out of my way from that way. Parents forcing me to go to college to be interested in my any career with family business. I mean, if they're forcing you, they're forcing you. I mean, that's where something. Sometimes you have to push back. Sometimes you have to push back, and you have to upset people. Biggest problem is decline in humanities education. Yeah, that's definitely one of the problems. I mean, college education has declined for many reasons. Ideological rot and infestation is certainly one of them. Another factor is just the cost. With with student loans being federally subsidized, you basically are in debt to the government for the rest of your life. And that, I think perhaps more than anything else, has contributed to the, how should I say, it's contributed to the racket that is modern college education. Have you hit the 6-figure barrier for 2018? I think so. I'll post something at the end of the year about that, just to show some proof of work. I'm not one to try to brag about, look at the money I make, but obviously people care on some level. Yeah, it's good to show that you actually earn money. If you say you work online, there's always those people like, show me. Okay, here's numbers. That's why from time to time I'll post a screenshot of daily income something. So, all right, people, good talk. Hope you all learned something. Just to recap it, if you don't want to go to college and your parents are insisting, be able to present them with a concrete alternative pathway and show them that you're thinking long term, and be prepared to argue about it, and be prepared to argue about it clearly and not get emotional. 23 years old, president of an entrepreneurship organization from a college. Can I have some advice? Advice about what? Advice about what, brother? Last question. I'll let you ask advice about what? Are you going to go train now? Yep, that's the plan. What do you want advice on?